The new tornado's track is already incredibly wide as it begins east of Amber. It strengthens slightly as trees are ripped up and small farm buildings are destroyed. David Payne is chasing for the news station KOCO. As he and his partner drive down the interstate, they notice a sudden change in the tornado's look.
Near Amber.
Okay. Trail is skinny.
And what you're looking at there is a violent, rapidly rotating tornado. Estimated width there about an eighth to maybe a quarter of a mile wide. And
oh
winds in
my
there
god.
Approaching 200 miles an hour. Where we are, we have winds
Holy
blowing
moly.
into the tornado right now at about
Within just a couple
hold
of
on.
seconds.
Hold on, I'm gonna show you guys that again. That tornado just went from a tiny needle, a stick, let's represent a stick to a ginormous tree, essentially. I'm trying to represent like how big it grew. So let's just say this is what it started off as. Look at me, guys. It started off like this. This is what happened. In a matter of maybe 5 to 10 seconds, it went like this to like that. In a matter of like 5 to 10 seconds. That is comparable to, I think, the size growth that the El Reno tornado did. As far as I remember. Yeah, that growth, that immediately massive growth in size, that is similar to what I think the El Reno tornado did. Or what was described by what the El Reno tornado did, where it just exploded in its size within a really short amount of time. Yeah, let's watch that again, guys. That is ridiculous. Look at this. Here, watch this. Look at this. Look at the difference. That is a matter of seconds. 8 minutes and 3 seconds. Okay, it looks really skinny. You see it, guys. Watch this. Right here. Look at the frame. Look what it's showing. Look at how big it's already grown in like 5 seconds. And then like 10 seconds later, this is the size of it. It's absolutely ginormous. Watch this. I'm gonna look at this.
Looking at there is a
Look at this.
violent, rapidly rotating tornado. Estimated width
Look at it.
About an eighth to maybe a quarter.
There it
of a
is.
mile wide.
Exploding in size. Went from this to that in like 5 to 10 seconds. El Reno's size shifting like abilities. Oh, welcome back. Another video by me, Entertainment Factory 16. For today's video, as you guys can see, we are doing another reaction video to, yet again, TornadoTRX's is one of his awesome videos. Again, cannot mention how many times this man is awesome, how great of a content creator he is. But yeah, we're going to be reacting to, today, his Bridge Creek Moore tornado video, which is the tornado that, in recorded history of all tornado documentation we've done through the 50s to now, is the strongest ever tornado ever recorded on this planet. Wind speeds higher than any of the other tornadoes ever recorded. Ever. I'll put information about this tornado as well, but I'm also gonna put this awesome man's channel's link in the top right corner of this video, and his video as well. But anyways, before we do get into the reaction video, you guys please hit that like button and hit the subscribe button for more awesome reaction videos to this man's channel and to other tornado videos possibly as well. Anyways, enough blabbering on and talking from me. Let's get right into this video.
It's May 3rd, 1999, and reporter Dan Anderson is sitting in Moore, Oklahoma.
Okay.
He is filming the strongest
You know what?
tornado
I'm gonna turn this up for you guys. Here we go.
ever recorded.
There we go.
Assume
Gotcha.
The city in front of him.
Oh my.
Holy moly, bro. Look at that horizontal vorticity. Look at that. I've never seen that in a tornado, bro. That's actually bizarre. You know, you would normally see the regular vortices, vertical. Horizontal? No. It's rare. I've never seen that in my life, bro.
It's 1999, and it's been 6 years since the state of Oklahoma had seen a single violent tornado. Despite being the tornado capital of the world, areas such as Canada and Massachusetts had seen much stronger tornadoes and leading years.
I'll put information about all these tornadoes on the screen as well.
Others knew the potential Oklahoma had.
Oklahoma tornado. I actually don't know what that tornado is, so I'm almost gonna see information about that and put the information for you guys on the screen.
And even though the state had been on a good luck streak, forecasters at the National Weather Service, coincidentally in Oklahoma, were still on high alert. And the first week of May looked like nothing
because it's
out
peak
of the
tornado
ordinary.
season, you know?
A strong low pressure system stretched across the western edge
trough?
of the
Yes,
United
that's
States.
a trough. That's
But
what I
this
learned from this
system
man.
Actually seemed like a bust for tornadoes.
I think I said it wrong, but still.
Rely on weather models, which are mathematical predictions of the future, to make predictions themselves. And the models really showed nothing.
Yeah, so this is the model. Okay. Yeah, no, it doesn't show anything going towards Oklahoma. That's their model. So from all their research predictions and all this stuff they gathered, the information and data, all of what they gathered. So Oklahoma, I'm gonna have the pointer, and just in case you don't know where Oklahoma is, I'm just gonna help you guys out. Even if you do, everyone, I'm going to indicate where Oklahoma's at for you guys. But what we can see, storms are not even close to Oklahoma, and it looks like Oklahoma is fine. They got lucked out again, essentially.
Special occurring. Essentially, from the computer's perspective, Oklahoma seems to have lucked out once again.
Yeah,
May
that's what it
3rd,
shows.
1999. It's a typical Monday in the plains. The massive metroplex of Oklahoma City wakes up to begin the day.
Okay.
And if anything, it feels like the opposite of a tornado day. Instead of a hot, muggy morning with little clouds and tons of warnings, a brisk breeze underneath a calm blanket of clouds greeted residents. Up in the atmosphere, though, things were...
You know what's funny? That's the thing. Most of tornado days happen on days like that, where it's like, seems really nice outside. Oh, it's so nice. It's cool. It's all nice feeling outside. 70-degree weather, so not unbelievably hot for you. But it's normally days like that will surprise you. You think, oh, it's all fine. It's all nice. And then the next moment later, severe weather develops easily. Because behind the scenes, there is essentially something creeping up underneath you, essentially. I know it sounds weird, but what I'm trying to say is unpredictable. Something unpredictable is going to happen, even if you expect nothing to happen. In nice days like this, stuff can happen and unfold quickly. Cape values can be high enough to form these stuff. Wind shear that's strong enough to make thunderstorms rotate and produce tornadoes. And a bunch of other stuff can happen on these days that you wouldn't believe could happen. It's just something that comes right out, hiding to showing up its ugly face to you, into the world of the state or country you're living in. It will peek its head out and come out at you at full force when you thought it wouldn't. But then you compare it to the hot, muggy days he was just talking about. Yes, to be fair, there are some certain days where actually severe weather can happen on those days, and I've actually experienced a few of those in where I live at, where there was a day, I think it was a year or two ago. It was like 110 degrees here where I was living, and it was really burning hot. And we all stayed inside, of course, because we didn't want to die of heat exhaustion. And around the end of the day, that massive amount of heat and the dew points being so high, humidity being so high, temperature being so high, allowed thunderstorms to absolutely explode into severity. And it was quick. Like, they formed. We were lucky we didn't get hit with the severe part, but as it moved by, it was growing in severity. But it's mainly, yeah, that's the thing. The cool weather days are normally the days you're going to see bad weather, unfortunately. And that's how this works normally. As far as what I can perceive, that's kind of how it works.
Almost secretly strengthening above. This strength was rapidly shoving warm, moist air from miles away.
Yeah, that's not good. That is not good.
Comparing the models to what was actually happening this morning, the forecasters realized something. Essentially, every computer model had excessive errors, underpredicting ingredients tornado outbreaks thrive on, the very ingredients that were rapidly coming together. Hope of a normal Monday continued to dwindle. The clouds above were slowly peeling back, and by early afternoon, the atmosphere was quite literally a loaded gun ready to be fired.
A loaded gun ready to fire. That's the way he describes it. That is not a good way to describe it. That's horrendous. God, bro.
3:49.
Okay.
Realizing the potential disaster about to unfold, the National Weather Service upgraded their thunderstorm outlook to a high risk across the majority of Oklahoma
I'm not surprised.
At 4 o'clock. Just 10 minutes after upgrading the risk, meteorologists noticed tiny specks on radar near the Texas and Oklahoma border. The small showers were moving to the northeast at a relatively slow 25 miles per hour. One of the specks near Lawton, Oklahoma, was starting to get bigger. And even though it had developed just 30 minutes prior, rotation was beginning to occur within the storm. At 4:40 p.m., not even an hour after the storm popped up, it produced its first 2 tornadoes.
What?
2 very weak EF0s north of Lawton. Within
Yeah, I'm gonna try my best, guys.
The storm began.
I'm gonna try my best to get as much of the information from these tornadoes that happened on this day and tornadoes they referenced in this video. I'm gonna try my best to get as much information on that to show you guys all that information on the screen for you guys. So if you guys don't know what they're talking about, you guys will understand because I'll get all that information shown for you guys. Because honestly, some of the tornadoes they mentioned as well, the previous ones they mentioned or referenced, I actually don't know what those ones are. So, yeah.
Get larger and rotate.
Oh, it's
faster.
getting stronger for sure.
And
That is
soon,
just growing
the third
power.
tornado of the
F3.
storm would strike, and the first significant one, the F3 tornado near Stecker, Oklahoma, completely destroyed a single home before disappearing. This trend was becoming very concerning.
It's gradually, the storm is gradually producing more powerful tornadoes. Although that's crazy. The jump to EF0s, then EF3. What's next? Let's see.
Every new tornado, the damage was getting stronger.
Yeah.
A couple minutes later, another strong F3
Another
would
F3.
touch down near Chickasha.
Definitely
Val
longer.
and Amy Castor, storm chasers for the Channel News
See
9,
this.
would capture it.
That's crazy.
I see debris fly, a big piece
There it
of debris
is.
flying through the air. Visual of it, it's only about a half a mile down the road from us. It is definitely a wedge. I mean, based on visual, it's at least an F3.
What? You don't use visuals to determine strength. The F scale, the way you determine a tornado's strength is by the damage it does. Or wind speeds recorded from Dow trucks, which are Doppler on wheel trucks that have the Doppler radar on their back, essentially. And they drive close to these storms to record wind speed and other type of data. But no, you don't. Size is deceivable for tornadoes. You don't use size to determine a tornado's strength. Think about it this way. I'm going to explain it to you guys. You could see a massive wedge tornado, but trust me when I say, yeah, that could be an EF5. 100%, yeah. But it's not meaning that every time it's going to be an EF5. That could be an EF1. That could be an EF0. It could be anything. Size is really deceivable because when they meant, by the way, remember this. Let's go back to the last video I reacted to from his channel, the Dead Man Walking Trail. Remember, they mentioned how that trail started really skinny and how strong they mentioned how strong it was with how skinny it was. Yeah, size does not mean strength. Size is really deceivable. You can't say by a size base that it's a certain strength of a tornado that it is, or that's a certain strength. You can't determine that. You only determine the strength of a tornado by its wind damage it does to buildings or structures or trees or cars, or by, like I said, Dow trucks that do the data with the radar scans that give the precise wind speeds of the tornadoes. Those are the only ways you can determine a tornado's actual strength. You cannot determine a tornado's strength by looking at its size. Size is massively deceivable, especially in tornadoes. Do not trust the tornado size to think that, oh, well, that determines the tornado's strength. That is not true. That is not factually true.
It's at least an F3, Gary. You've got debris hitting us. You've got debris hitting us at the side.
You're literally guessing that.
West winds wrapping around it.
As the tornado began to become smaller, a thin
How you even
satellite
guess that,
tornado
bro?
was
What?
captured orbiting the main circulation.
And this,
Oh, look at that satellite tornado.
yeah,
Let's see
and
right
that
next to
one
it.
is getting bigger. The main one is getting bigger too, much bigger.
Look
Just
at
a
that.
few minutes later, another storm chaser, Oliver Smith, would capture the tornado, disappearing once again.
And there it goes. There it all goes. Back up.
But of course, just as the F3 dissipates, the storm spins up a new area of rotation.
Okay.
This time, it was quite disorganized. A thin, wispy F2 over the Chickasha, Oklahoma airport. Despite being relatively weak, it was able to damage multiple of the buildings on the property before again lifting. Something different was observed from this F2, however, as although quite thin, the core of the vortex began digging up swaths of the top layer of soil, a process known as ground scouring.
Hold on. So they just said, and I just said this as well. I just said size is deceivable. They said it was an F2 thin. They just said it did ground scouring. Which, if you guys don't know, ground scouring is a process done when violent tornadoes, like F4, F5 tornadoes mainly, as far as I'm aware, because I don't think F3s can do it, but F4s and 5s can 100% ground scour and destroy the ground, essentially, or mark up the ground, because of how strong they are. But an F2, by the way, guys, an F2, a really thin F2, and they said a thin one. Again, that just says, oh yeah, size is deceivable. Okay, a thin F2 did that. A thin F2 was able to do something that an F4 would have to do, or an F4 takes an F4 to do. That just shows size is deceivable. And that's kind of scary to think about. An F2 did that. What if an F5 came and what would an F5 do? Think about that. Just think about it right there. The same storm produced an F2 that was able to ground scour. Think about what an F5 would do from that same storm. It's not a good thing to think about.
Only seen in some of the strongest tornadoes. If a thin and wispy tornado from the storm could produce...
Yeah, and he just said from the strongest tornadoes.
What an established and long-lived tornado could do is scary to think about. Unfortunately, the residents of central Oklahoma would get the answer to this question. Stretching out from Oklahoma City lies Interstate 44.
Okay.
Along the interstate are multiple overpasses that connect the road to other communities.
Gotcha.
Communities such as Amber and Bridge Creek, Oklahoma. Near an overpass east of Amber, storm chaser Mike Duncan and his colleagues are sitting. They're getting footage for the news station KFOR.
Okay.
The same news station thousands are now tuning into as an apparent tornado outbreak is beginning. As the storm's base comes into their view, they notice something.
Oh my God.
Broad rotation encompasses the clouds,
look
almost
how
like
much
the
of that
entire
area of
storm
that part
is
is
trying to
rotating.
spin. Mike begins to film what he's seeing.
Oh, look at that. It's trying to touch. See like a funnel trying to go down.
Cloudy tentacles of dust begin to swirl sporadically under the clouds before a thin funnel takes over. It's not long before the funnel lifts up, but as Mike zooms out, something terrifying is seen. Dust is swirling underneath the entire cloud, as if the circulation is the entire cloud, which would be over half a mile wide.
See this?
The rotation gets stronger.
So hold on. Okay, I'm gonna put lines on the screen for you guys to try and mark what I think is the width of the tornado already after it just is on the ground. This thing is massive already. It just touched the ground. Like the wind field, at least. It's not condensed, so it doesn't look big. But it's when it does condense down, it's going to look massive. It will later on, I'm pretty sure. But I'm going to probably draw lines for you guys to show you guys what I think the width of the tornado is already. And it's massive already. It may not be condensed down, so you may not see it. But you can see all that dust indicating that it is actually on ground. All that part of it, all across a certain area, is on the ground of the trail.
As it becomes clear, something is very different about this tornado. The new tornado's track is already incredibly wide as it begins east of Amber. It strengthens slightly as trees are ripped up and small farm buildings are destroyed. David Payne is chasing for the news station KOCO. As he and his partner drive down the interstate, they notice a sudden change in the tornado's look.
Near Amber.
Okay. Trail is skinny.
And what you're looking at there is a violent, rapidly rotating tornado. Estimated width there about an eighth to maybe a quarter of a mile wide. And
Oh my God!
Approaching 200 miles an hour. Where we are, we have winds
Holy
blowing
moly!
into the tornado right now at about.
Within just a couple
Hold
of
on.
seconds.
Hold on, I'm gonna show you guys that again. That tornado just went from a tiny needle, a stick. Let's represent a stick to a ginormous tree, essentially. I'm trying to represent like how big it grew. So let's just say this is what it started off as. Look at me, guys. It started off like this. This is what happened. In a matter of maybe 5 to 10 seconds, it went like this to like that. In a matter of like 5 to 10 seconds. That is comparable to, I think, the size growth that the El Reno tornado did. As far as I remember. Yeah, that growth, that immediately massive growth in size, that is similar to what I think the El Reno tornado did. Or what was described by what the El Reno tornado did, where it just exploded in its size within a really short amount of time. Yeah, let's watch that again, guys. That is ridiculous. Look at this. Here, watch this. Look at this. Look at the difference. That is a matter of seconds. 8 minutes and 3 seconds. Okay, it looks really skinny. You see it, guys. Watch this. Right here. Look at the frame. Look what it's showing. Look at how big it's already grown in like 5 seconds, and then like 10 seconds later, this is the size of it. It's absolutely ginormous. Watch this. I'm gonna look at this.
Looking at there is a
Look at this.
violent, rapidly rotating tornado. Estimated wind
Look at it.
about an 8 to maybe a quarter.
There it is, exploding in size. Went from this to that in like 5 to 10 seconds. El Reno's size shifting like a building,
Within
seems
just a
like.
couple of seconds, the wispy tendrils conglomerate.
Look
into a
at it!
massive
It's
and
still
violent
growing!
tornado.
Look
At
at
the
it!
same time, the tornado begins to strengthen
That was
rapidly.
within 10 to 20
Ground scouting
seconds!
appears once again as the grass
A
is dug
tiny,
away
thin
in a
funnel.
swirling pattern underneath the
Oh,
tornado.
ground scouring. God,
Except
that's
this
not good.
time, it's not in the middle of fields. It approaches its first target, a small subdivision of homes
Oh, no.
along Dewey Edwards Drive. As it approaches,
no.
houses not even in the core are damaged, and as it crosses over the road, 4 homes are leveled to the ground. Their debris is thrown into a
Oh,
tree
it's really
line
strong
to their
already.
east, which is mangled and shredded. Within just a few minutes, the tornado had become incredibly violent. Mike Duncan is still filming. He watches as the wedge tornado morphs in shape while quickly rotating. Soon, another shift in the tornado's appearance occurs.
Okay. Wait, look how thin it is now! Look! And now it's growing again! This isn't a matter of seconds! Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pause this to show you guys. My god! Okay, hold on. So, in a matter of, I think, 10-15 seconds, yet again. So this time though, it actually was decently big. Then it broke down to small, and then it just grew back to its ginormous size in a matter of 5 to 10 seconds. Hold on, let's get to that frame where it literally exposed its middle, or it's literally its funnel. Let's get back to that. There it is, right here. There's the middle. There's the really thin part. Watch this. Watch this. Right here. Look at the frame. Look at the time. Look at the time it's taking. We're at 5 seconds. Look how big it's at. We are not even at 10 seconds. Look how big it's already gotten. 10 seconds. That's how big it got in 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Within just a couple of seconds,
Holy
the
moly,
tornado
bro.
falls apart
Like I said,
before coming
El
back
Reno
even stronger.
size-shifting
Past the
ability.
subdivision
Literally,
of
he's
homes,
gained that
the tornado
before the El
continues,
Reno even
and it's
happened.
now
That's where
heading
the El Reno
directly
got it
for
from.
the
They took it right
community
from the
of
Bridge
Bridge
Creek
Creek, Oklahoma. The monster now most likely has some of the strongest winds conceivable on Earth. The tornado has no
It
intentions of
definitely does.
lifting as it crosses through multiple fields, beelining straight for the first road of Bridge Creek, County Road 2948. As it crosses, the forward speed of the tornado begins to slow down slightly, allowing the tornado to slowly crawl over the neighborhoods. Within just a few minutes, the area would be scrubbed off the earth. Trees in the core of the tornado were ripped out of their root systems and tossed. Unfortunately, this area of Bridge Creek was very poor, and almost every single structure impacted was a mobile home, making it even easier for the tornado to wipe everything away.
So, I don't know if you guys, I think you guys might know the difference between a mobile home and like a well-built home. The difference is a mobile home is a manufactured home in like a factory that's brought into a certain spot and put in, or put down. A well-built home is literally built hand-built by people, hand-built by construction workers. So it's built well to mostly withstand really strong tornadoes for the most part. Well, yeah, and a mobile home is a home just manufactured. It's not well built at all. It can only withstand, or it can get fully destroyed by EF3 damage, or EF3 tornadoes can fully destroy the entire house. EF3 or EF2, I don't remember, but it's one of the two. And it's bad that what we could say maybe an EF5 already went right through the area, swept the entire area clean. Swept all the dirt, swept all the houses, all those mobile homes, all the trees went breaking out and flying or whatever not. Just bad destruction. When mobile homes, they can't stand really well by really violent tornadoes. They get swept right clean. Never be in a mobile home when there's a violent tornado.
The rest of the southwest side
Find
of Bridge
an
Creek
area with
felt
better
the same
shelter.
destruction.
Maybe a neighbor has
The
a well-built
tornado
home.
carved
Take
into
shelter in
the
that
earth
home,
as it
please.
expanded to almost an entire mile wide.
A mile?
One of the homes
Alrighty.
destroyed was the Crago family home. In the destruction, Catherine Crago was killed. Her daughter, Amy survived though, and Amy's
Wait,
11-month-old
they said
baby
oh my
was
God, it was a
tossed into a
mobile home
field
too.
and caked in mud. The moment an officer discovered her was captured on camera.
Oh my God. My God.
It exited the first
That
neighborhood of Bridge
baby,
Creek,
who's
crossing
now
through fields,
in their
and
20s
slowly
today, is
crawling
probably
towards
got
its next
traumatized
neighborhood,
from
a
that
subdivision
experience
along
for
Red
life.
Rock Road. The damage here was almost insurmountable. The tough red clay that covered the area was completely dug up.
Oh my
Every
God.
single home in the neighborhood was swept cleanly away. A large portion of the asphalt road, over an inch thick, was ripped away here as well. Moving to the northeast, more rural subdivisions felt the wrath of the winds. Large homes were continuously swept away,
my God.
and mobile homes practically disappeared. The most striking damage was not just the homes and structures though. Some of the most extreme vehicle damage ever documented
You can't even tell that's a
occurred
car.
in the southwest area of Bridge Creek. One truck had all of its insides gutted before it was wrapped like a blanket.
It's just leaving the
around
bare
telephone pole,
chassis of the
all
vehicle
the while
there.
being caked
Look at the
in
damage on that
copious amounts
vehicle.
of dirt. Practically no grass remained in the core of the tornado, making the damaged areas appear more like a drought than a tornado.
Oh my
Tree
God.
lines were mangled down to the ground,
That is a
stripped of their
horrifying
bark,
description.
and sprayed
Seems
with bits
more
of
like a
cars,
drought
homes,
than a
and
tornado.
buildings, leaving behind piles of unidentified
What is that?
shrapnel.
That's
Val
a
and
car?
Amy Castor are now watching as they parallel the wedge tornado.
Okay, that
across
tornado's
the
massive
interstate.
now. Look at that.
We're just about to get hit with debris. It's got to be on the turnpike now.
That's ginormous.
It's there's all kinds.
Continuing, the tornado
size of it.
impacted a large brick home. This home was very well anchored, and as the vortex passed, it was turned into dust. The only thing remaining on the
It swept it clean. There's nothing. It just went like that. Everything cleaned off. Literally wiped clean. A well-built home, I just mentioned compared. So, well-built homes, they get fully destroyed by F5 tornadoes. That has to be an F5 tornado right there. And that's a big home. A big well-built home. It's hard to destroy bigger well-built homes. And the fact it just swept that one clean. Holy moly, man.
The property was a slab swept
Sorry for
perfectly
pausing it so many
clean,
times, but
and
I gotta
small
get my
bushes and
input on here,
trees
you know?
sandpapered of their bark.
Give you my opinions.
These images would depict some of the worst tornado damage
I-
ever
I'm
documented.
not surprised.
Continuing through Bridge
It
Creek,
swept it
home after
clean.
home and field after field was reduced to nothing. Mike Duncan films as two large vehicles
Dow
pass
trucks.
him.
Right there, that's
These
a Dow truck.
vehicles are nicknamed Dow 1 and Dow 2. Dow standing for
Or
Doppler on wheels. Essentially, a Doppler weather radar attached to a moving vehicle. The
Yeah.
vehicles allow researchers to get radars incredibly close
Okay.
to storms, which in turn allow them to collect important scientific data, such as
Yes.
wind speeds inside
That's
of
what I was talking
tornadoes. The Dow trucks are currently scanning the air, and what they see is terrifying. Sustained winds of over 200 miles per hour.
And they're
are
not
being
even near
logged.
it.
Some
Like,
of the
they're
strongest
close,
readings
but, like,
ever seen inside
They're
a
not right
tornado.
next to it.
As the
And
tornado
they have
exits
200
Bridge
miles
Creek,
an hour already.
Meteorologists begin to realize the severity of the situation. The tornado has shown no sign of stopping and is now beelining straight for the Oklahoma City metro, a massive city with hundreds of thousands of people. With death and damage updates slowly trickling through from Bridge Creek, the potential was realized. Something more dire than a tornado warning had to be issued. At 6:57 p.m., the first ever tornado emergency
ever.
is issued for the cities of Moore, Oklahoma City, and the surrounding metro. The warning read, "Tornado emergency in South Oklahoma City metro area." At 6:57 p.m. Central Time, a large tornado was moving along Interstate 44 west of Newcastle. On its present path, this large damaging tornado will enter southwest sections of the Oklahoma City metro area between 7:15 and 7:30 p.m. People in Moore and South Oklahoma City should take immediate tornado precautions. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. If you are in the path of this large and destructive tornado, take cover immediately. This wording is some of the most frightening ever written in a tornado warning. Mike Duncan and the Dow trucks are still following the vortex along Interstate 44, and notice it becomes increasingly wrapped in rain and debris.
Yeah, you can't
the
see it
tornado
anymore.
here is now practically invisible.
You guys
As
see
it
it?
engulfs more and more dirt, it begins to turn into a murky
Yeah, that's rain
brown.
wrap now.
Suddenly, a funnel starts to
Okay,
emerge
never
from the
mind.
rain. Something strange
wraps are
from
just
within the
thin
storm
funnel
is
emerging.
occurring. The path begins to shrink and
Whoa.
become more erratic, and as the smaller vortex emerges from the clouds, its violent motion becomes apparent.
Oh my god. Yeah, the fact it's not sped up and that's how fast this thing's moving. And rotating. Look at it. Look how fast it is rotating. Oh my god.
The tornado begins to slow down, almost to the brink of stationary. The Dow trucks point the radar directly
get
towards the
close to it.
funnel, and what they see is mind-blowing. The radar measures wind gusts in excess of 330 miles per hour,
330?
meaning
330. That wind speed right there, and that's the highest ever wind speeds recorded on this planet. That wind speed right there is strong enough to damage such skyscrapers and destroy. And let's see, rip asphalt. What else can it do? Yeah, rip the asphalt off the ground, damage skyscrapers probably pretty severely, and destroy some 3 or 4 story buildings probably. I wouldn't be surprised. Those winds are really strong. Yeah, so I'm also gonna put a list here as well. There's only been 3 tornadoes in record history that have ever had wind speeds of wind gusts in the 300-mile-an-hour range. So this is the first tornado to ever do it, and it holds the record for the strongest tornado ever on Earth, with wind gusts, or wind speeds recorded from the Dow trucks from a range of, I think it was 3... I don't think it was a range, actually. I think it was just 321. Yeah, 321 miles an hour. And then the second one was the 2013 El Reno tornado, which we did a video on as well. Reacting to this man's awesome video on it, and that one had 296 to 336 miles an hour from Dow truck scans. And then the third one was the most recent in 2024, the Mayfield, Iowa EF4 tornado had a Dow truck scan that had recorded winds. I think it was 306 to 313 miles an hour was recorded in a Dow truck scan. So these are the only three tornadoes ever since we started documenting and recording tornado data since the 50s have ever broken 300 miles an hour on a Dow truck scan. This is significant, guys. And it's also really significant because this is the strongest tornado ever recorded on Earth. And it's pretty hard to seemingly impossible that I think it's going to be broken ever in life. In my lifetime and other people's lifetimes, I don't think it could even be broken. I'm going to be honest. It's a massively significant tornado to think about.
The tornado now has the strongest winds ever measured on planet Earth. Unfortunately, this would occur in the absolute worst spot, as the tornado is now sitting directly over one of the overpasses on Interstate 44. Underneath the overpass, 2 men, a mother and her son, climb underneath the girders to shelter from the winds. The mother, Kathleen Walton, feels the winds accelerating upon them, and as the metal girders bend and squeal, she shields her son Levi with her body. Kathleen would be sucked from underneath and killed. She was described as a loving mother and generous to a fault. As the rest of the group climbed out, caked in mud, Levi was heard screaming, "Where's my mom?" Kathleen was a single mother and described as all Levi had.
Think about
This
it, overpasses
narrative,
accelerate the miles an
sadly,
hour.
was not
Could be
unique.
approaching probably
Dozens of
400
deaths were now
under
coming
there.
in from Bridge Creek as well, and the tornado was destroying homes and
I'm
families.
just assuming they
and it
didn't.
had
That
no
information was not
plans
known at
of
the time that
slowing down.
overpasses were
In
not
fact,
safe.
It looked
Or
like the
were-
worst was
or
yet to
people
come.
didn't know that overpasses
Underneath
were not safe
another
during
overpass,
tornadoes.
another mother and her children,
God, bro.
Tammy Holgren, and
Why
her
is
2
that
young
horrifying
daughters sat
description, too,
trying
of
to save
tragedy?
themselves from the tornado. Miraculously, the sporadic path meandered slightly to their south, sparing them from the same fate as the Waltons. A journalist was also sheltering near them and snapped another incredible image of the tornado leaving the scene. The sporadic nature of the tornado becomes even more apparent as it approaches the north side of Newcastle, Oklahoma. The vortex continues to thin out while still digging up the ground. Storm researcher Tim Marshall records as the vortex turns into a pronounced tube and crosses the road in front of him.
Oh yeah.
Got out of there. Okay. Turn it this way, turn it this way, turn it to the other way.
Crazy. It was a wedge, now it's a tube. Literally, like a stovepipe. That's as thick as a stovepipe. Oh yeah, that's a stovepipe. That's crazy.
As the storm approaches the Canadian River, another feature appears. A satellite tornado, far from the main one, touches down, dancing aimlessly in the field.
There's the main guy over there, the big, like, stovepipe.
The strange behavior
one.
from the storm could hint that it's getting ready to dissipate, but in reality, it's doing anything but dissipating. As it crosses the Canadian River, Tim watches the tornado suddenly and rapidly grow in size.
Oh my god, here we go again. Yep, back to massive.
The water and mud it picks up from the river fill up its entire windfield,
back to massive
creating a
again.
wall of darkness
Bruh.
simultaneously. Jim Gardiner, the helicopter operator for K4, ascends his helicopter into the sky, and despite the strong winds and dark conditions, he's determined to broadcast the monster to the people of Oklahoma City. As he finds his bearings and tilts the helicopter towards the south, he sees the monster in its entirety approaching the city.
Oh my god, is that the tornado?
Just incredible when we went into Westheimer. There's no power at all. Mercy vehicles running
Is
around.
that the
There's no
tornado?
power on the
There's
southwest
no
side
way
of
what I
Buffalo
just saw was the
World
tornado.
Airport.
That
At the
what I
exact
just saw
same
in the
time
first
as
picture
Leroy,
of the
reporter
helicopter
Dan
caught,
Anderson
there's
finds
no
an
way
open
that was
area
the
off
entire
the
tornado.
interstate
That
in
was
the suburbs of
enormous.
Moore in Oklahoma City and begins to film the tornado from inside the metro.
South of Crossroads Mall, you're looking toward the south, and there's the
Oh my
large
god, it's
tornado
oh
on the
my
ground
god,
now
it's the
moving
tornado.
through.
The
It
people of
literally is the tornado.
Oklahoma are now watching the strongest tornado of all time as it begins to devastate their communities, the first of which was a group of homes on the outskirts
Oh,
of Moore.
no, bro.
The tornado never ceases to carve the ground, and it continues to grow in size, crossing the intersection of Drexel Avenue and Southwest 149 Street.
not good.
Multiple large, well-built homes are cored directly and destroyed. Its path is still rather sporadic, making strange twists and turns
Oh my god, it's
as it
leaving
regains
markings
its
in the
bearings
ground.
and widens. A group of homes on Highway 37 are the next target, being directly impacted. Every single home in the neighborhood sustains some level of damage,
My
including a handful that are swept off their foundations. It's
My
almost like the
God, bro.
tornado decided to grow massively in size and strength right as it entered the city. Now, with every inch the tornado
Oh
travels,
my
the areas it impacts will become more and more populated. The tornado meanders through a small field, mauling a tree line before the wedge begins to engulf the East Lake Estates neighborhood. Rows of exceptionally well-constructed
Oh my-
homes
that's like
are
2
wiped away,
rows.
in some
2 to
cases
3.
heaving up pipes and plumbing from within the foundation.
2 to
The
3
scale
rows.
of the devastation in the
2 to
neighborhood
3
was
rows of
mind-boggling,
homes are
despite
completely
both being
destroyed.
in interior rooms inside of bathtubs of well-built homes. 2 people would die in East Lake Estates. As the tornado exited the neighborhood, it brushed the Westmore High School, ripping off portions of the roofing. Several cars were thrown here and mangled beyond
Oh
recognition.
my god.
As it leaves the neighborhood, it crosses over Southwestern Avenue. Across the road sits the Emerald Springs apartment complex. Many tornadoes have struggled to fully destroy multi-story apartment buildings due to how large and
Oh, no,
reinforced
this
they
one's
are,
not gonna
but
have a
not
problem.
this tornado. Several 2-story tall structures from within the complex are reduced to their slabs,
Oh my
killing
God.
3 people who attempted to shelter inside. Crossing a tree line to the northeast, a subdivision of newly built townhomes lie. The tornado does not spare these either, again wiping multiple
God.
off their foundations.
Look at
Back in
all
the
the
sky,
destruction.
Jim struggles to capture the entire tornado from his helicopter.
Man,
but
yeah,
power
look at the
flashes
pit
near the
from
base
the
indicate
foot she's
electrical
getting. There's a
lines and
ginormous tornado you can
transformers
kind of see.
exploding, creating zero doubt that the tornado was consuming the neighborhoods. Past a field, the vortex crosses over North Santa Fe Avenue into more large
Oh my
residential
God, it's getting
areas
worse. It's
of
getting
Moore,
more populated
Oklahoma.
areas.
Damage still does not falter. Hundreds of homes were destroyed
That's
or swept
3
clean away,
3
and the tornado's
rows.
funnel filled more and more with granulated
That
bits
picture
of
had 3
cars,
rows.
homes, and dirt.
Almost
At one
every row
home,
in that
a
picture
safe
was
anchored to the
destroyed.
foundation is ripped away and tossed like
Or
a toy,
damaged at
and
least.
more plumbing is
In
ripped
that
from the
first
ground
picture.
as distorted cars impact now empty foundations. Somehow, the vortex is still going. It approaches the main road of Moore, Interstate 35. Here, Dan Anderson watches as the tornado emerges, and he captures one of the most iconic pieces of tornado media ever.
Outages because these storms are moving into the metro area. We're going to have
That shot. Look at the debris. Look at all the debris. Look at all the debris in the air. Folks, please, we plead with you. You absolutely have got to get down. Get to the lowest level you possibly can. We plead with you. Do not take the extra minute or two. We plead with you. Space, please.
Look how
We plead
big
with
it
you.
was.
Go to your
Before
safe
it
spot
cut
now.
it
Take your
to
radio.
the next
Forget
image.
the live
To
pictures.
this image
Go
right here.
get
Did you
safe.
not see how big it was?
Oh my gosh.
89, South 89.
Folks, we plead with you, just go to your safe spot.
Look at horizontal vortex. Look at that. Look at that.
Horizontal vortex. That is an F4 to an F5 tornado. That's
Right
winds of
there.
250
He's got the
miles an
sides
hour.
right there on the
We're asking
camera.
our crew right now to shut down, get out, and get out of there. This is a dangerous situation.
Across the interstate, the neighborhood of Highland Park was enveloped the same as every area previously. At this point, the tornado was full of so much debris that it was more akin to a massive blender than just tornadic winds. This blending allowed large trees to be sandpapered once again, leaving them as a skeleton of bare wood. Cars were perpetually tossed like toys. Some of the worst vehicle damage occurred here.
What is that?
Near the edge of the
That's a
neighborhood,
car?
a very large home was completely swept away, with essentially nothing left. The photo became one of the most iconic.
The tornado did that? Oh my god. That is a ginormous home that just got swept. Flew off its foundation and slabs left there from the tornado.
Iconic tornado damage images, but reports are conflicting on if this was done by the tornado or a rumored house fire before the tornado. Whatever the case may be, it seems likely this level
No,
of
if it was a
damage
fire,
could
you
have
would see
easily
the
been
entire
done
slab
by
would
the
be
vortex.
like burnt.
By this point, the
Or there'd be,
tornado
you
had
could tell.
traveled
You would
30
tell.
miles straight and had caused consistent,
Oh my God.
mind-blowing damage to everything it touched. However, the worst of the devastation was possibly just to come. Just a couple miles to the northeast, the projected path was now aiming straight for a large trailer home park. If large brick homes were failing to sustain the winds of the tornado, the death and destruction to a packed community of mobile homes would be indescribable.
Hundreds
As the
of
tornado
people would
continued
die
to
going
approach,
to the
a
mobile home
miracle
area.
seemed to occur. The path began to slightly curve to the north. However, the new track was now heading potentially towards something worse.
What?
Along Highway 240 to the north, several industrial warehouses and metal buildings were placed. One of the buildings, American Freightways, held dozens of employees, all hunkering down as the tornado approached them.
My god,
As
bro.
the winds impacted the
my
area,
God.
trucks and metal
No,
equipment began to be slammed and tossed
This is
violently.
just getting worse
Mud
and
splattered
worse.
against the debris
It's getting
as
worse
the
and
ground
worse as
continued to
time
be
goes
dug
on.
up. Unfortunately,
Trail's
2
not stopping
employees
being
would
a pure
die in
nightmare
the
to the
impact.
people of
The
Oklahoma
tornado
City.
continued to the north, curving towards the community of Del Air. Just like every community that came before, the neighborhood was obliterated
Oh my
and 6 people
God!
died. To the east sat the Tinker Air Force Base, where hundreds of Air Force residents.
No, I gotta look at that again. How many rows? 1, 2, 3, like 4 rows! Almost 4 rows in a row. Maybe 5 to 6 rows where damage is evident. 4 rows where it's almost completely destructed houses or destroyed.
Neighborhood was obliterated
God,
and 6
bro.
people died. To the east sat the Tinker Air Force Base, where hundreds of Air Force residents stayed. In a stroke of luck, the tornado continued to curve to the north, just barely missing the base. After the base, the tornado began to shrink once again, but it also began to weaken slightly. The first time we had seen a substantial weakening since the tornado touched down. It crosses over more industrial buildings, only partially destroying them. As it crosses Interstate 40, a neighborhood to the north of the highway would be the next target, and the destruction remained devastating. killing 3 people.
No.
Finally, without any warning, the damage would cease. The tornado had lifted, and the carnage ended with it. Over 36 people would be found deceased.
You know,
with
I won't
over
be surprised
500
if this is the
significantly
third deadliest
injured,
tornado.
making it the deadliest tornado in over 50
Yeah, I
years.
won't be surprised if this is the third
One
deadliest
survivor
tornado
was
in
uninjured,
Oklahoma history.
but
I'm
unfortunately
gonna put a list
died
of the
from a
deadliest tornadoes in
self-inflicted
Oklahoma history, and I
gunshot
swear to God,
wound
if some
in
other
reaction
third,
to
I'm going
losing
to
his
be
home
surprised.
in the tornado. The storm continued to the northeast. It produced a weak and brief F2 tornado before completely fizzling away, as if it had expended all the energy it had into the earth.
So much power into that one tornado that created
104.1,
unimaginable damage.
107.7. That is damage.
Mike.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
Mike,
Yes,
you gotta look at this. This is phenomenal. It's gone. The neighborhood is gone. We are over a neighborhood just west of Tinker Air Force Base. It is gone, Mike. I'm just following the swath of where this went. It's probably at least a quarter mile wide. Here, look at this. It's the whole neighborhood, Mike. The whole neighborhood is gone.
That's multiple.
Those that are listening
You're
on
looking at
radio, we're looking at damage of what was a neighborhood. Unfortunately, it looks now.
It's totally destroyed.
That is like
It is
7
well, I'm
rows
speechless.
of
It's
homes.
absolutely incredible. These are homes that are no longer homes.
No roofs,
Just scattered
no walls.
debris for miles and miles. Dangerous situation.
The tornado outbreak as a whole would be one of the most extreme ever, including an F4 tornado that, despite missing the town of Mulhall, was still wide enough to completely level half of it. May 3rd, 1999 would become one of the most infamous days in tornado history and would seal central Oklahoma as a tornado hotspot. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, that's insane. And just to tell you guys more about the data on this tornado alone, this tornado was the costliest tornado, and this is no joke. This tornado was the costliest tornado at the time. It caused $1 billion in damage at the time, with inflation counting now about 1.9 or about $2 billion in damage now, if counting the inflation now. Back then, 1 billion. And at the time, it was the costliest tornado in the United States until the super outbreak of 2011, where the multiple tornadoes beat it, which included the Tuxtlew, Birmingham tornado, the Joplin tornado, which became the costliest tornado in U.S. history. What else? There's a few other ones. I don't remember, but then in 2013, the Moore tornado took a very similar path that the 1999 Bridge Creek Moore tornado did, but caused double the amount of damage that the Bridge Creek Moore tornado did, though. It caused $2 billion in damage. But yeah, this tornado was the strongest tornado ever in history. It was one of the craziest events we've seen in tornado history. It was the first time ever in history, in tornado history again, that we had seen a tornado that had gotten past the 300-mile-an-hour mark. It was the first time, and it would mark a beginning of tornadoes slowly and steadily continuing to break that record. After the 1999, 2013, then 2024, we got 3 total tornadoes that had 300-mile-an-hour winds recorded by a Dow truck. It's been bad. Stuff is getting worse. Tornadoes getting stronger over time. Stronger winds are being recorded, and more damage and severity and lives are being lost because of this. Anyways, guys, I do hope you guys did enjoy this reaction video. If you guys did, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button as well. Also, go, yet again, shout out to TornadoTRX. Go check out his channel. Go subscribe to him. Give him all the support in the world. He's an awesome creator. Love making these videos as well. Makes awesome videos that definitely keep me entertained and informed about more of stuff that I may not know about the weather, since I am interested in being a meteorologist in the future. Again, thank you so much, man, TornadoTRX, for making these awesome videos. But anyways, I'm going to see you guys all later. Bye.